What's up, guys? This is Matt again from Headwaters Adventure Company. Today we're going to be doing the Boonedox Groovy Landing Gear, the PA kit. So this one's a little bit different. You have a few other extra parts that do come with it and a little bit different backing plates. So we're going to just jump right into it and start stripping this and getting ready to put it on. Alright, so some of the things that you're going to need is going to be Allen wrenches, or like on the Impact we have an Allen bit as well. But you'll need a 1/4 inch for the Hobie bolts, and then a few other sizes for the kit itself. So this one is a 3/16, which is going to be for the main bolts, and then we have a, I believe it's a 5/32. Yeah, that's right. A 5/32 for the bolts holding the knuckles on, and then for your set screws, it's a smaller one, and I actually don't know the size, but a smaller one. You will also need a 3/8 drill bit, some marine goop or any other type of silicone, a Sharpie, and a tape measure. Start by opening your box. And the first thing that you will want to do is you want to get your knuckles ready to accept the bar and be mounted on the boat itself. And they come in little kits. So here are all your parts and pieces. You're going to have your little foam koozie of the brackets for the knuckle, and then the knuckle itself. Alright, so for the for the brackets to attach to the knuckles, you want to use the smaller screws that come in here. You will use the smaller size lock washer and a normal washer. And the way that these are going to go on is going to be lock washer first, and then the washer, as so. And then that's going to feed through the bracket. Once you have that in there, you'll take the track nut, put it on the back, and you're going to do this with 2 of them. And then these will slide into the knuckle itself. And this isn't on the right way, but I was just showing you how they slid in there. But you want to get all of these set up and ready to do that before you start drilling holes or getting the rest of the landing gear ready. So the way you want to set this up for the next stage is going to be to insert the track nuts into the knuckle on each side. And then what I would usually do, and you could do this in a couple different variations, but I would usually have the spot for the set screw facing the back. You could also have it facing the front, you could have it facing straight up in the air. It's really going to be preference. It is hard if you have them on the bottom just because you can't see what you're doing, but I usually have them facing back. And you could just finger tighten these for now because you are going to need to loosen them up and put a little bit of Loctite on there, which is provided in the kit that Boonedox gives you. Once you have the knuckles set up, you want to get the bar out. This does have a right side because you do want to have the track on the top so that you could actually use it. Which is nice setup about these groovy landing gears is the whole thing is track. Whether you want it here, here, everywhere, on all 4 sides is track. So it gives you a lot of real estate if you want to add anything else. But you'll get this set, and then this will slip underneath. This will slip underneath the H-bars, but first you have to actually unbolt them from the boat. And that's what you'll use your 1/4 inch Allen for, so that you can actually move and work with the H-rail. Alright, now that you have these loose, you want to undo your bungees because you do have to move your paddle keeper. So what's nice about all these Hobies is that everything is capped. So all of the attachments are threaded. So the idea is you take this one off and you can remove this D-ring as well, or pad eye, and reinstall the paddle keeper in a spot where you can keep using it. Then out of the Boonedox package, you want to grab your backing plates. And this is a specific backing plate to the Pro Angler kits. They're much longer. Your regular backing plates are only going to be to about there. So with the longer backing plates, basically with a big boat, it distributes more weight, but they fit very, very well inside the gunnels of the Pro Angler, the 12 and the 14. So what's nice about this is that you have some leeway between this insert and this map pocket. So anywhere centered in here usually works, but what you want to do is set it up and put the bar across just to make sure that it's in a spot where it's not going to get in the way of the kickstand or anything else. So just as a test, before you drill any holes or bolt anything on, you do want to set the bar and the knuckles under the H-rails just so you can get an idea of where it's going to sit. You want to make sure that you're not doing it so far forward that it's going to interfere with the kickstand. Once you have taken or removed the bar and the knuckles for your spacing, you want to set the backing plate down and measure from the map pocket. And what I've done here is I'm placing it at about 3.5 inches to that first hole. That's going to ensure that you have enough space to clear your kickstand and have it far enough forward. Every inch counts, because the further back it is, the more weight you're going to carry. Once you have everything marked, put the knuckles and the bar back on just to make sure that, again, it's out of the way and that your marks line up with the marks on the feet. Alright, once you have everything marked and you're ready to drill your holes, which I can't stress this enough, measure twice, drill once. But you'll take your pry bar that they also include in your Boonedox pack, move this H-rail out of the way, and drill your holes. Once you've drilled your holes, you will need something to fish the backing plates through. So here we have a rigging bullet on a piece of cable with basically a stopper on the end and a nut that's fed onto it. So to start, when you're feeding it through this, the nut can't be on there because the nut's not going to fit through the hole. So when you're doing this, whether you're using fishing line or something like this rigging bullet, I like to feed it through the back hole just because it's going to be the easier one to reach. So you'll open the back hatch. You'll have to stick your arm in there, and there's a foam block that's inside the gunnel of this boat. With your hand, your fingers, you have to push that foam block down so that you can get this through and feed the backing plate up. And if you can reach, grab it. If you can't, get a magnet. Magnets and fishing line is how kayak rigging works. Now that you've done that, you want to insert your rigging bullet or whatever you're using into the backing plate, and then with this we'll actually take the nut, feed it back up onto this so you have something to hold the backing plate tight against the boat while you're putting the landing gear feet on. So now it can't go anywhere, and we'll give a pull on our cable and feed it through. Something else that I like to do, since we have the back one that we're doing first, is to tilt this up to the edge of the boat, or to the inside of the boat, and slide it in and through. It'll make life a little bit easier than you trying to get it in there any other way. And that's it. And then if everything goes correctly, you'll see the threads of the backing plate in the hole you drilled. I know we just had these set up, but what you're going to want to do is loosen these up a little bit so that you can slide them off. It is much easier to attach these without the knuckle connected, and then you can slide the knuckle in later. But to get it started, I'll feed that in, and actually you do want to have your lock washers. But I'll feed that in, pull up the backing plate, and again, if you have everything lined up correctly, it should go in pretty easily. So then you'll need to fish this back out, pull it back through here, and your other hole will be lined up for your other foot. Voila! Your other lock washer and your other bolt. Put it in, line it up, tighten it down. Just that easy. So after you've done that, keep them loose. You want to have a little bit of play in this. It'll make this next part a lot easier. But you'll take the Loctite that they give you, and I will put a few dabs of this on the back of these track nuts where you have some of this thread. So when you tighten it down later, nothing can loosen up. So we just do a little dab on each one, and while you spin it, it'll kind of coat everything. And then you'll feed the knuckle on. And you do need to get it under the H rail, or it won't slide. And now that that's in there and loose, you want to get the other side set up and go from there. So after you got your knuckles installed, you take your center bar, and then you're going to get your tape measure and mark the middle point of this bar. These are 29 inches, so they are 14 and a half. With your Sharpie, if you mark 14 and a half, and then I will usually line that mark up with this pad eye that Hobie has installed here as their center point. And you do want to slip the bar in from one side or the other. And everything should still be loose at this point. And you take your mark and you line it up with the pad eye on the boat. That's about perfect. And the real test for this, if you have it in the right spot, you want to take your smallest Allen wrench and see that you have bar on the farthest back set screw on either side. So as long as those are touching, it's going to be solid in there and you don't have to worry about it slipping around. So once your bar's in and you're ready to tighten everything up, you want to see where your feet are resting. So what I usually do, because they don't line up perfectly because the hull of the boat is rounded, so I'll have one set flush on the side and the other one's going to be a little bit in. And once everything's lined up, this is the chance that you'll take to tighten everything down. So I'll usually tighten the screws to the feet, from the feet to the knuckle first. And these ones are kind of a pain because you've got this H rail in the way still. After you've got all that tightened down, you're going to tighten down the feet to the boat. And with that, I'm going to be using the impact. They're already threaded. You shouldn't be able to cross thread them, but you still want to do it slowly. Then you're going to have 4 set screws, and those are going to go in the back of the knuckles and pinch the bar into place. And I do like to Loctite these as well. Don't over tighten these. You can strip out the thin aluminum threads that are in there. But you do want to make sure to have them snug. So the last step, couple of steps for this, is going to be installing the risers for the Hobie H rail to sit on. So it's not resting on top of the groovy landing gear itself. They give you these hard black plastic spacers that are going to sit underneath and give a little bit of space between your new landing gear and the H rail itself. I will say on these, they do not like to line up easily. So when you're doing it, be careful not to cross thread. It is something that can happen and that you do want to avoid. So I'll get it started and then I'll try to line it up. So after you've got them started and a little bit loose, you can take your drill do suggest using an Allen wrench first. You take your drill, get it the rest of the way in, and if you can't spin this around, you know it's plenty tight. So the last step is just putting the wheels themselves together, which is just a couple of pins and sliding the wheel onto the leg. Voila. And then these do have a left and a right side. So if you put it in and it's resting a little bit above the kayak, that's the correct side, because when it's dropped down, it's going to be angled slightly back. If you have them the other way, they will either be sticking almost straight up in the air or angled forward. So you can mark these. A lot of people take a Sharpie or a piece of duct tape just so they know the left from the right. But there is, and you do want to use them on the correct side. So that's how you install the landing gear on the Hobie Pro Angler 14. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Headwaters Adventure Company for any upcoming sales, trips, or classes that we might be doing.